Hello, once again, welcome to the Pathways to Global Scholarships Bootcamp day 4, actually day 4. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Pathways to Scholarship Bootcamp day 4. As usual, our focus is how to help you unlock studying abroad on a postgraduate scholarship with the fastest path to the money, which we know as the unlock method. So today's training is day 4 or week 4. We're trying to help you to unlock the perfect personal statements, and discussions for reference letters will come later. But for today, we'll focus basically on the personal statement. And this is a follow-up to our discussion last week or upper week where we talked about storytelling, because the whole thing, the major focus of the personal statement is using stories to pass a message that will help you get the scholarship, and to use your story, your experience to distinguish yourself from the crop of people that are applying for the scholarship. So that's the essence of the storytelling. And we talked about the importance of story in our lives, how growing up we have been habituated to listening to people's stories. We tell our own stories, we tell folklores, we learn about histories of the past, and it's all basically stories. So story is a very important element, because even when we teach in class, our lecturers use stories, because sometimes if they don't use stories, we cannot relate with this discussion. If they just tell us about facts continuously, we get tired, it gets boring. So that's the idea behind storytelling and why we need to use storytelling in scholarship applications. And so as you find out, and when we proceed, story is also a very big element of the personal statement. And the personal statement is practically the most important component of the scholarship application, because a lot of the decisions that are made during scholarship application is based on what you write on the personal statement. Yes, your transcript is important. Yes, your reference letters are also very important. Yes, your English proficiency tests in some cases are also very important. And in some cases, even standardized tests like the GRE, they are all important. But why is the personal statement unique? This is your opportunity to carve a niche for yourself in the head of your reader, your audience, which is the selection team. It's an opportunity for you to enter the conversation going on in the head of the scholarship sponsors. And I don't mean one person. Collectively, the organization that is funding this scholarship, they have a conversation that is already going on in their head why they decided to fund that specific scholarship. So your personal statement is an opportunity for you to key into that agenda, using your story, using your experience, and using your personal branding to be able to justify to them that you are the person they are looking for, right? More like you are the missing puzzle in their whole story, what they are looking for. So if you are able to demonstrate that with your personal statement, that's what the personal statement can help you to achieve. And that is really, really very, very powerful. I'm sure you agree with me. Yeah, so going forward, at the end of this training, the idea is for you to be able to pick up some useful strategies and techniques that will help you to write your perfect personal statement. And we've already discussed it. What is a perfect personal statement? A perfect personal statement is a statement that helps you to win the money, even though we'll still discuss that. And when I talk about useful strategies, I'm not saying you should try to put everything that we are going to talk about today into one single personal statement. That might be difficult for you to do. But at the same time, I believe that if you follow this lecture properly, you will get the major principles behind writing a personal statement, and you'll be able to pick what applies to you. Bear in mind, there are also some fundamentals which I'm going to talk about, and those fundamentals I urge you to at least try to incorporate them. And if you even go look closely, you realize that you're already using some of these things in some of the writings you do day to day. Yeah, so let's proceed. So we always like to talk about the last class so that we can connect it to this class. I've already done that by telling you that last class we spoke largely about the storytelling in scholarship applications. We also looked into the anatomy of a scholarship advert. By anatomy, what do I mean? I'm talking about the constituent parts of a scholarship advert, like the eligibility criteria, like how to apply, application deadline, and all those things you get when you visit the funding, the site, the website of the funding body. Usually that advertisement shows you everything they want from you. And usually you don't need anybody else to tell you about the scholarship. Yeah, most times when you visit the web page of the sponsor, you know everything. So last week, we also talked about telling stories in scholarship applications, and we talked about the hook, story, close. We talked about the hook, grabbing attention. Then the story is like the meat of the discussion. And then, of course, you bring everything to a safe conclusion, which is the close. Yeah, so on that basis, we proceed today by talking about now, imagine that you have spent days to weeks to months to search for a scholarship. You have searched deep down in your being. You have done unlocking the scholarship avatar. You now understand what the sponsor is looking for. So now it's that time to go into the meat of your application, which is the personal statement, because that's the thing you can actually change. You can't change any other thing. You can't change your grades. You can't change probably your TOEFL scores unless you write another TOEFL or IELTS. If you have GRE, you probably can't change that too, except you write another one. But what you can actually tweak to fit what the funding body is looking for based on your experience is actually your personal statement, because there are many dimensions to you, there are many sides to you, there are many truths to your story. So it's not like you are forming something out of that doesn't exist. You are taking that part of you and formulating it in view of what is in front of you. So that's the major idea of a personal statement. So let's dive in. What is the goal of a personal statement? I think I've already let the cat out of the bag. The goal of a personal statement is either to help you win the money straight or to get you to a stage where you can stand in consideration for winning the money. What I mean, either helping you to win the money. Yeah, there are specific scholarships that you don't need to do an interview. All you need to do is to put in a good application, and what happens? Result comes out, they tell you you have been selected based on your written application alone. Those scholarships like the Commonwealth shared scholarship, most times you will not do an interview, but these days I'm beginning to see Erasmus Mundus. I think some of them do interviews, some others don't. And then, of course, Islamic Development Bank, they don't do interviews except they just introduced it. The Netherlands Fellowship. So there are different scholarships that you can actually just apply, paper application or online application with your personal statement, your transcript, your recommendation letters. And then if you fulfill the eligibility criteria and you are selected, you just go in straight. And then there are other scholarships like Chevening that you have to cross an interview stage, or the normal Commonwealth Scholarship by Federal Scholarship Board. They still have to call you for interview based on what you submitted. So whatever the case may be, the goal of a personal statement is to get you to that next stage, to differentiate you from the crowd. That is the idea of a personal statement. And the basic thing to remember when preparing for a personal statement is it involves knowledge. It is an expose. It is an expose basically either of yourself or in addition of a specific topic, genre, or something, knowledge that is in your head. So the personal statement is a way of you to express what is in you. It involves knowledge. Self-knowledge, that's knowledge of yourself. Who are you? What do you represent? What is your motivation? What are your drives? What is your career plan? 10 years from now, where do you see yourself? These are all questions that have to do with self-knowledge. So usually, when people talk to somebody and say, can you write a personal statement for me? They are doing themselves injustice. When people come and say, can you give me that personal statement you used? I want to copy it or I want to model it. Most times, yes, there's nothing wrong in learning from how somebody wrote his personal statement. Not all of us have the same level of skill in writing. But when you lose that personal touch, when you don't demonstrate self-knowledge that shows that you are in tune with yourself, your inner being, then you are making a mistake. So it starts with self-knowledge. That's why I started with talking about your scholar avatar. Who are you? What do you represent? What are your goals? Where do you see yourself? How have you been making a difference in your community? How do you hope to make a difference more? How does your personality resonate with the opportunities at hand? That's the scholarship. So we cannot overemphasize self-knowledge. The second type of knowledge is knowledge that relates to big ideas. Yeah, I'm going to be talking a bit more about big ideas. What do I mean by big ideas? Or a topic related to the scholarship you're applying for. Usually, every funding body have something they are interested in, or maybe something that is in line with their policy. Like now, Commonwealth Scholarship, for example, is interested in sustainable development goals. And a lot of all these development-related scholarship opportunities, some people are probably interested in poverty reduction, some are interested in water. So you find specific scholarships like that. So if you are writing a personal statement for that kind of scholarship, maybe a scholarship that wants you to demonstrate community development impact, and you don't have knowledge relating to things like community development or climate change or sustainable development, then that means you probably will not be in a position to write a good personal statement. If we're together, please let me know in the chat. Let me know if you're following me. Yeah, please. And also, please react. If you are following, maybe give a thumb up or something. Let me know that you're there. So I'm not just talking to myself. So in terms of self-knowledge, knowledge relating to big ideas, like I said. So when you hear big ideas, you're probably thinking of something. So, but the big idea usually is related to the interest of the funding body and your own interest too, usually. Yeah, if it's a scholarship about sustainable development, Commonwealth in particular will give you like 6 fields that they are interested in. Science and technology, education, and public health, and so you can choose one team around that a sub team under the main team, and then you can write your personal statement from that angle, and then you pick your own big idea you want to talk about. It's just like you're writing a novel. There's a team around what you're writing. You're not just using scattered ideas or trying to put all types of ideas into your writing. So 2 types of knowledge you need to have before you go into any personal statement writing: self-knowledge and knowledge relating to a big idea or a topic that is related to the scholarship you're applying for. Yeah. So we proceed. So what are the characteristics of the best type of scholarship essays? Usually, just like any type of essay, nobody wants to read a boring essay. So a scholarship essay that engages the audience, that entertains them, while also tackling a specific issue or a single big idea. Why do I mean a single big idea? If you have not heard of the rule of one, there's something called the rule of one, especially when you are writing. Focus on one idea, one problem, one issue. Don't try to use 250 words to talk about 50 things. You are not going to be doing justice to the topic. So the best type of scholarship ideas focus on one particular topic or a single big idea. And then there's something called psychological triggers. I mean, as human beings, we are psychological beings, we are emotional beings. There are things that help us to connect, and there are things that help us to disconnect. So when you are writing, you don't want to use triggers that disconnect your audience. Rather, you are trying to use triggers that connect your audience so that you can influence them. we have to also remember that the whole idea of writing a personal statement is about a tool to influence your audience. You are trying to surreptitiously influence your audience, like you are trying to, in a camouflaged manner, influence them to take a particular decision. We're actually selling ourselves. That's basically what it's an exercise in selling yourself. You are trying to achieve, the idea is convince these people that you are the right person to be selected for this scholarship. So you are trying to move the reader to the right conclusion or to the right action. So the best type of scholarship essays are the essays that achieve this. And that's what we are trying to achieve. So how do we achieve this? We try to achieve this by a mixture of storytelling, or something I like to call story selling, because it's not just storytelling, we are selling ourselves. That's why I call it story selling. And then in all this, the essence is to show capacity, commitment, and drive. That's why they call it motivation statement. Sometimes they call it motivation statement, sometimes they call it personal statement. So in your writing, you are showing commitment. You are showing them that you are a good fit for this opportunity. That's why we're talking about scholar avatar. The idea behind scholar avatar is that your scholar avatar should rhyme with the scholarship in question. So you are showing them that you're a good fit through your writing, through the stories you tell, through the experience you demonstrate, through the kind of knowledge you demonstrate. Yeah. And so that's why you need to have knowledge of yourself and knowledge of the subject matter that is being discussed, or the big idea that is the focus of your scholarship funder, because you don't want to be talking about things they are not interested in. And then through this, you try to use all this to evoke the right emotion in your audience. It's not just emotion, it's an emotion like a call to action, an emotion that drives them to action. If we're together, please let me know in the chat. So just like a personal statement, it is just an essay, just like any type of essay. And we have already talked about that every type of essay starts with a hook. At some point, there's the main body of the essay, which you can call the story, and it closes. So there's nothing spectacular about it. It's just a type of story. And like the unlock method, which we have discussed, basically is about the only thing you are unlocking is what exactly is my focus. Determine what you want to achieve with your personal statement. And this will give you the idea from the kind of type of stories we talked about last week. We talked about the different type of stories you can talk about. Your mess to message story, whether you want to show impact, you want to use your story to show impact of what you are doing, or maybe you want to show that you faced one particular challenge and you have overcome it, and now you are using the lessons you learned from personal victory to help other people, those kind of things. First of all is to determine what do you want your personal statement to achieve. And then based on your scholar avatar, you choose one or two narrative moments. And we talked about this last week with regards to storytelling. And then you tell them in that moment. And then the idea is to, first of all, pour down everything that is in your head without worrying about whether what counts. And then you now start cutting it down, cutting it as far as you find out. In fact, it's easier to write the first draft than to edit. But most people focus too much on the first draft rather than focusing on the editing, because the main thing is what you remove. It's not even what you say. If you say too much, it becomes a problem. If you say too scanty, if you say things too scantily, it also becomes a problem for you. So the idea is you have to focus on saying just enough and nothing more than that. So that's why they give you 250. Some people will say 250 words, some will say 100 words, 150 words. They want to put a limit on you so that you don't overwhelm them, because they also have a limited time. So that's the idea of a good personal statement. And then applying the unlock method to storytelling or personal statement writing. Basically, determine what exactly you want to talk about, what you want to achieve, like the end. What do you want your personal statement to achieve? Yes, The overall objective is to win the scholarship. But what is your strategy towards winning the scholarship? Is it that you want to tell a story about your challenges when you were growing up and how that has inspired you? Because you know something, they want, and usually the story will tell you, the question they're asking you will tell you what you should talk about. You know, if they ask you about your motivation, it's good to talk about your motivation, put some little bit of inspiration in it, put a bit of challenge, because we told you different characteristics of a story. A story has to show that at a point, the protagonist will face one challenge, he will overcome it, and from there, it will now lead to a breakthrough, you know, and live happily ever after. So you have to demonstrate all those things, basically. I hope I'm not too fast or too slow. Whatever, if I'm too fast, too slow, let me know in the chats. So this leads us nicely into something I call the 12 foundations of a winning personal story. I hope it's still up to 12 because I trimmed down some of them. Yeah, basically, I have covered the first one. We said a personal statement is an exercise in persuasion. Aha, my pace is nice. That's good. Thank you for your feedback. The personal statement is an exercise in persuasion. That means you are trying to persuade the scholarship judges, the selection team to select you or to shortlist you for an interview. You are trying to persuade you are trying to influence. It's also an exercise in influence, persuasion, everything. And this is where you use things like psychological triggers. Don't really bother too much about whether you are a Wole Soyinka or you're a good writer or something. Focus more on what is the idea behind what you are trying to achieve. Because a lot of people focus on their English, their tenses, their, you know, those are the last things you need to focus on, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what a good editor can do for you. In fact, there's something called levels of complexity of language. If you are writing a personal statement, you need to make it very, very simple, because a lot of people that are reading your personal statement are not even in your field. If you are a vet, it might be an English major that will read your scholarship essay. So it's not by showing that you know, or you are trying to maybe speak big English or jargons. You are using jargons, professional jargons. Those will not help you. In fact, it's better to use a language that shows that, you know, that is as easily comprehensible as, you know, less big words. If you can use a smaller word, use it rather than a big word. Then the important thing there is that, yes, I know you are probably worried that how would they know that I'm a professional? The way you can demonstrate a professional, we'll talk about it later, you know, but for now, make sure that your English is not, you know, not too low, but at least it should be something like high school level. And then there are other ways to demonstrate that you are a professional, not by using big words like I'm speaking like Patrick Obayagmo. That will not help you. So a personal statement is a personal adventure. That's why it is called personal. Well, it's something that is personal to you. So the first thing you need to pick from this statement is that you have to write in the first person. Because I read some personal statements, some people are not even writing in first person. When we say first person, we mean I am, I experienced, I was born, I grew up. You know, you talk about your personal story. That's why they call it a personal statement. It's like a letter you are writing from yourself. You know, all those novels that you read. In fact, recently, most of the most impactful novels that have been coming out, prize-winning novels, have been first-person singular kind of novels. Chimamanda's Popular Hibiscus, Half of a Yellowstone. These are all novels that are written from the first person, not third person. They, we, and they, she, he. No, talk about yourself and use the first person. Make it a personal adventure that somebody that is reading you will be so encapsulated in what you are saying that the person will not be able to, you know, the person will not be able to drop your essay until they finish reading. So that brings me to the next thing. I've already started talking about how you need to sell yourself. Now imagine Imagine that you go into a shop, you want to go and buy something. Depending on what you are going to buy, there's the ambience, there's a kind of environment that the buyer always creates. All those shops, it's not by mistake. Some shops you go in, you see that the AC is working, they want you to be relaxed because the thing you are probably going to buy is expensive. Some shops, they will offer you soft drink and coke and coffee just to make the environment conducive for you. They are trying to create a perfect buying environment. I learned this from one a renowned copywriter known as Joe Sugarman. He was talking about how you can use your environment to write. You're writing, your copywriting, you are writing in such a way to create a buying environment. What do copywriters do? Copywriters, excuse me, copywriters sell by using words. So you can use words to create a perfect buying environment. So that's where I got this concept from, of creating the perfect environment to sell yourself, because it's about the things you say or you don't say would still, maybe when we start doing personal reviews, so some of them, like I told you, might not be immediately applicable, or you might not really understand the concept, but just try to picture the theoretical aspects in your head. When you start writing your personal statement and we start reviewing it together, you understand more of what I'm saying. Excuse me. So some of what you say or you don't say can create an environment for you to sell yourself. There's a way you write that you come across as arrogant. There's a way you write that you come across as confident. That kind of thing. You also have to understand that you are just one out of a number of applicants that are applying for the same thing. So you need to differentiate yourself or distinguish yourself. There's a way you create it, that environment will come true. So for now, just understand that a winning personal statement is usually one that creates a perfect environment for the candidate to sell himself. Either by achievements, awards, by telling a story that links to an award you got based on one thing you did, or maybe all those things are things that you can use to create a perfect environment. You're already selling yourself before you even start selling yourself. So the person is already sold on your candidate. You're like, is this a student? Is this one looks very like he knows what he's doing. When you start telling them about some of the things you have done in NYC, you have not even finished NYC, this is what you have achieved. Or when you were in even third year, you have already known where you wanted to be, how many years ago. They will be like, oh, even from your hook, from your first statement, they know you are creating an environment to sell yourself, or you're already selling yourself from the word go. So we have talked about persuasion, personal adventure, selling yourself. And then whatever you are doing, realize that the aim is you want to be in resonance with your reader. You don't want to lose your reader at any point in time. A lot of what I'm talking to you about, I learned it from reading Joe Sugarman. Joe Sugarman is a copywriter of notes. He also talks about creating something called the slippery slide. What is a slippery slide? In a writing, a slippery slide, imagine that a slide. When you were in primary school or nursery school, you probably used to go to the park and then you climb a slide. Imagine that slide is coated with oil. You now pour granose oil on a slide and then you climb on top and you are coming down. There's no way you are going to go up. What goes up must come down. If you are sliding down that kind of slide, they have already put oil on this. There's no break, no jam. You are coming down, you are sliding down. That is what a good writing should do. That's the same thing, a good personal statement. Once the person reads it, the hook will hook him, and he will, no matter how the thing is, he will want to see the end. So things like curiosity, you might want to plant a seed of curiosity in the reader, through subtle kind of writing tactics, and the person will become hooked and be following he will not even know that he's judging his personal statement, he's reading again. You know, that kind of thing. He would think maybe he's reading a New York Times article. Those kind of things will stand you out. He will know that it's not losing, it's not wasting his time reading you. Maybe you even gain a thing or two from reading you. And, you know, before you know it, that person is already sold on your candidature. So slippery slide is one of the tactics writers use. You see, sometimes you see an article on Facebook, you didn't plan to read it, but before you know it, you have read it. In fact, till you finish that article, you didn't even know that, because that author was able to create a slippery slide, and he was able to plant maybe seeds of curiosity. You want to see what happened, or that person was able to evoke an emotion, you know, not different type of emotion. But of course, when it comes to a scholarship, you want to evoke the right kind of emotion. If not, you don't want the guy to see that you come across as arrogant. You want to evoke the type of positive emotions that are in line with, that's going to help your goal of moving to the next level of that scholarship. I think let's leave it at that for now while we proceed. So another key thing that is, I'm sure you can relate more with this one, is you demonstrate impact by quantifying with numbers. Basically, whatever you do, if they are, every scholarship, most of them are merit-based scholarship. Even if it's a need-based scholarship, they still have merit-based component. They want to know sometimes your grades. In addition, they want to know your impact. If you're following me, please let me know in the chat, please. Don't let me ask, let me be seeing engagement on the chat so that I know that I'm not talking to myself. So that said, most of these scholarships are merit-based scholarships. Even if they are need-based, they also have merit-based components. So they want you to demonstrate impact. When they're asking you about your community development, they want you to demonstrate impact. Don't just say, I was able to I trained some youths in graphic design and they became self-sufficient. No, that does not count. You have to tell them that, okay, during my NYC, I teamed up with so number of young people. We created a training that trained 2,500. And please don't be lying. Try to at least be as close to reality as possible. You might not be able to remember the exact, but quantify it. If it's 2,000, say we trained up to 2,000 young people. Nobody will ask you whether it's 2,650 or 649. But you can say, okay, we trained up to 2,500 youths, you know, in graphic design, and those youths will be able to become self-sufficient in like 3 months after that our training. They were earning at least 5,000 naira every month, or they were earning 10,000 naira weekly. That kind of thing. You are quantifying, you are showing them that you demonstrate impact. They know that you know what you are doing. You are showing them a before and after, a before intervention, after intervention. You remember we talked about the STAR method, the situation, task, action, results, and sometimes lessons. So it means you paint a picture of a situation, the tasks ahead of you, the action you took, the results you got. So when you are talking about the result, make sure to quantify. I learned this quantifying. So one of my friends, Ahmed Kayode Alabi, he gave me an example of quantifying that he did. He said when he started volunteering, when he finished university, he was in university then. No, after secondary school, he didn't get admission. So what did he do? He started volunteering with one secondary school, private secondary school, that he was just teaching them just a few hours, just a few days. But he volunteered for like maybe 1 week or so in that school. Finally, he got admission, he went. But when he was applying, now he's currently a MasterCard scholar at the University of Edinburgh. I have a video that we discussed. I'm going to share the video with you people. And then I have a Facebook page now. We have a Facebook page. It's called Scholarships Made Simple. If you have not followed us, please go and follow us on Facebook. We'll be sharing a lot of content that will be beneficial. We'll be hosting a lot of Facebook Lives. It will be for the general house. It's a free page. You can follow us and tell your friends to also follow us. Yeah, so I'm going to be sharing that video on that platform. So you need to follow us to watch that video. So Ahmed shared, he said, he was able to use that experience. So when he was writing about it in applying for scholarship, he didn't just tell them that he volunteered for 1 week, of which, 1 week includes even weekend. So he did not tell them that he volunteered for 1 week, because that 1 week would look small. So he quantified it in hours. He said he volunteered for, calculated the number of hours, in a week. And he used that hours to say, okay, he volunteered for 200 and something, that was how, and he got him the scholarship. He wasn't lying, but, he was able to quantify impact with numbers. So number of people you affected, the intervention, number of people you touched their lives, all those kind of things, their income, what happened, be very, very specific. I know, like Dauda now, I know you are working with a lot of projects and with Ambu Vets in Kaduna and North Central Nigeria. All those details of those projects are things you should have at the back of your so when you are writing a scholarship application, you should not be going too far to look for the information. That information is already in your database. So you need to bring it, because every single person that is applying for a scholarship is coming with their strongest points. They are coming with their best points. You are competing with people from across the world. And the more the scholarship, the more the prestige of the scholarship, or the more the competition. And some people advise that look for scholarships that are not very competitive. The reality is there's no scholarship that is not competitive. These days, the more the awareness, there are more people becoming aware of scholarship through activities like this. There are a lot of platforms. I can't even count the number of platforms on Facebook that are talking about scholarships. Some are fake, some are true, some have the real experience, some just want to eat your money. So a lot of people have become familiar with scholarship. It's a bit different from 10 years ago when I was applying for my scholarship, even though it was competitive then, but internet has not become this. Now, smartphone has changed everything. In those days, most of the time we used laptop or desktop, cyber cafe to check for scholarship. Now, everybody has a phone. They can browse. Even when they are on their bed, they can browse for scholarship. So it has made it more competitive. A lot of information is out there on YouTube, on everything, depending on what So the point is, a lot of people know about the opportunity now. So most of the scholarships that you can ever want to think about is already, they are getting loads of people applying, So the point is, you have to distinguish yourself. So you have to come with what you have. And don't underrate that thing you have. I just told you how you can make a 1 week volunteering, make it look very big by using the number of hours, At the same time, there might be a temptation to think that the little you have done, but the little you have done is not enough. No, the personal statement is an opportunity for you to talk about what you have been doing in a different way. So those are the strategies and tactics that we are talking about here. At the same time, be careful not to over-exaggerate, and also be careful not to at all naim bad. So not saying that you don't have anything to talk about is not good enough. You need to have something. So the idea is, if you, like I told you, if you are planning to apply for a scholarship from now to the next 3 months, now is your time to start doing stuff. Yes, people will say have a good intention, but there's nothing wrong in building up your profile when you know that you are also you want to do something, because to whom much is given, much is expected. And a platform that you get today can be an opportunity for you to impact the world better tomorrow. But if you fail to do the small things today, the big opportunities will not come. So that's where whatever you are doing, document it, record it, demonstrate impact by quantifying with numbers, whether it's in your work experience. It can even be your everyday work. Not a personal example. When I became a lecturer at the University of Abuja, I knew that my motivation has always been as a vet lecturer. When I was a vet student, something in my head told me that I wanted to be a vet lecturer. Why did I want to be a vet lecturer? I wanted to be a different type of veterinary lecturer. I wanted to be the type of lecturer that I wish I had when I was in vet school. That was why I decided to become a lecturer. So that motivation was in me. So when I became a lecturer in 2015. And the first thing I did was to start a mentorship program in my school. I called it the Veterinary Leaders of Tomorrow Mentorship Program. And through that mentorship program, I've been able to meet a lot of young people that I've mentored, young vet students and vet doctors. Some of my students have won scholarships, global scholarships, highly prestigious scholarships. And not just that, that satisfaction I got from even making a difference in people's lives. And today, a lot of my friends that are young vets are from that that experience I had. And also, one advantage of VLOT, Veterinary Leaders of Tomorrow, is that any application I'm applying for that is for opportunities, I'll tell them, I pioneered the VLOT. We have trained also amount of people. We have these are the areas we have trained them. We have somebody that has won a scholarship, 5,000 USD, a 300 level student, 200 level student at that time. We have two ladies that won scholarship, Boringa Ingelheim scholarship, two ladies from the same class in the same university. In addition, I was also their staff advisor, and I was also their VLOT mentor. And those two ladies, they were the only two people from Africa that were selected. So those are things I could talk about to demonstrate my impact. So any opportunity I'm applying for, whether it's scholarship, whether it's something, there's a place this kind of thing can enter. So the idea is you need to begin to think about what will stand you out as a scholarship, so that when you are writing the personal statement, you are not lying. So that when you are writing this personal statement, you are not copying somebody's statement, because a copy statement does not stand you out. You don't stand a chance. It's like you are copying in exam hall. You already know that you can never get higher than the person you are copying from. No matter what you do, you can never get higher than that person you are copying from. Meanwhile, so that means if that person fails, you automatically fail. Meanwhile, if they are going to select one person, they are probably going to even know the one that is original, because you might not have copied it well. So they will throw your own away. Or last, they can throw two of you out for plagiarism. So number 9, remember the waste paper baskets. When I say remember the waste paper basket, like I told you, the first thing is we stress too much when we're writing personal statement. We're focusing on the first draft, spending so much time procrastinating. No, what you want to do is to get down the first draft as fast as possible from your head. You can look at your CV. I told you can go back to your CV, look at what you have done, because sometimes you forget. If you have a journal, you can go back to your journal, look at your journal, see what you have down, look at even your Facebook page, your Twitter. Sometimes I post some things on Twitter, I didn't even remember that I did those things. So when I want to put everything together now, I might just spend some time looking at some of my activities, like this going global, this pathways to global scholarship. The only place I talked about it was Twitter. I didn't even talk about it on my Facebook. Nobody knows on Facebook that I'm doing this, because when I started it, it was impulse, and I just said, okay, let me just work with a select number of people, not too much, and see how it goes, because I want to help people get results. I've been getting results for people before now, but it was not really in a very structured way. So I wanted to do a structured program, help people get results. And then from there, those people will become ambassadors of the program. So that was the idea. But it started with, deciding to not overthink things, to take an idea and just start implementing. So when it comes to a personal statement, it's the same idea. Just implement, write first write. Some people, if they see anything on paper, they're already scared. How will I, all these BB questions they're asking me. The idea is take the question, chunk it down to what you can handle, and write what you can write. That is why you have a support system. That's why you have somebody that will help you look at it again. But if you don't write the first draft, someone like me cannot help you. You have to be able to write the first draft, and then editing is the most intricate part of the story. That's why we say the waste paper basket. Why did I use this analogy of the waste paper basket? There's a quote. It said the waste paper basket is the writer's best friend. That means the things you remove might even help you more than the things you put in there, because they want you to be direct. They want to read your statement. They want you to make impact. So you have to put the first draft down. Most times, don't worry about the word count, just write. when you finish writing all to your satisfaction, then you can now start looking, asking yourself, what is this sentence supposed to be here? Why must it be there? Should I remove this? And gradually. So editing is a foundational aspect of a winning personal statement. In fact, a good editing is better than the best first draft. If you have not edited or gotten somebody to edit, so people have to read your work, give suggestions. That's why it's good to start on time. Have the advantage of time. So I would advise you to have at least 2-3 people look over your work, people that are talented in this thing, that are experienced in this thing, not just people that from nowhere. You know, get all those people to look at your work and give you feedback. That way you'll be better placed than writing what is in your head. People will be like, no be writing. I've been writing since I know how to write. That thing, I know how to write, but it used to affect me too. In those early days, I used to write. You know, many people can't take criticism. We just, when they tell you, it's so difficult, it's not easy. Somebody tells you that, you know, so you have to give somebody that will give you fair and positive criticism. The idea is don't condemn anything, whatever, suggest a better way. That's one thing white people have that black people don't have. When a Nigerian teacher is talking, the way he condemns your work, and you will not even want to do anything, he will just kill your morale. But when somebody writes, and is able to get positive feedback, fine. Femi was saying the procrastination. The thing is, you have to be disciplined. Don't procrastinate. Just start. If you don't execute, you will never execute it. That's the idea. So start and then get the right type of feedback. Right, the person that will give you the right feedback. That way, but if you don't start, you cannot. In fact, I used to advise that if you know a scholarship that you're going to apply for in the next 6 months, go and find a way to get the scholarship essays that they asked last year. Sometimes they change it, but most times it's the same thing. So get the questions they asked last year and start answering it today. Start answering it today now. And write your first draft, and then you leave it first. You can take a walk and spend some time, come back to it when your head is clear, sit with it for like a week or 2. Then when you are convinced enough, then you now get somebody to look at it for you. What I find with many of my students, because I told you I have a lot of mentees. Somebody will just send me a scholarship essay that the thing is expiring next tomorrow, and he expects me to just leave everything I'm doing in my life. I should just come and focus on his scholarship essay because he's a chairman, he's my mentee, you know. So the thing is so funny, but that's what I go through. A lot of my students, they just feel like Alimi doesn't have anything he's doing in his life. Is this my work that he has to face? And I receive a lot of messages like that. Sometimes when I have strength, I see what I can do. Sometimes I just forget it. I don't even have, if I don't have the strength to even explain to you again, I'll just leave your email because you are not serious. And since you are not serious, then you cannot use your own to waste my own time. That's what I face a lot. And it's because I'm very approachable as a lecturer. So a lot of people take it for granted, you know. I've worked with some of my students that they just send in jargons, send in their application jargons. I just, because I'm in a good mood, I sit down, tear the whole thing down, pick from the sense in their nonsense, and couple it together and make a good winning application. That's how many of the students that won. So yes, I admit that you might be having some challenges, but if you don't start, you will not even get anywhere. So coming to the issue of a big idea, the thing with the big idea is you need to, what exactly is a big idea? I explained what the big idea is earlier. A big idea is basically a kind of a perspective from which you view a world view, or how you see the world, or how you see issues, like a specific approach to issues. So if maybe a big idea could be you believe in the the potential of the African youth to make a difference despite all the challenges we are facing. So you have always been an optimist. You believe in, you are a global changer or a global shaper. You want to solve problems. You are a change maker. You are a young leader. You believe in the capacity of young people. So you have been all your life, you are all about impacting communities, developing and the potential of young people. So if you are coming to write a personal statement, you might be coming from that team of, the power of youth to make a difference in society. You can be coming from the point of view of you just believe that One Health, a collaboration between multidisciplinary professions, and is the only way out to solve health problems in the world or in your rural community. That might be your own big idea. Forget that One Health is an idea that the whole world already has embraced. It doesn't matter. In your own world, you are the world. Like in your own world, you are the world. So don't focus on what other people, if it doesn't look so much like it doesn't have to be a novel idea. What matters is that that idea is your own reality and you believe it to be true, and your actions, your experiences, like form, when harmonized together, they form a big picture with regards to that idea. I don't know if I'm making sense or if it's too abstract for you. Please, if you are understanding me, let me know in the chat. So the idea is, a big idea is always focused around one thing. It could be like you believe that, talent is not enough. And talent is universal, but opportunity is not. So because you believe that talent is universal, but opportunity is not, you have taken it upon yourself to work with underserved communities, to work with young people in Makoko, in the slums in northern Nigeria, slums in Lagos. You are working actively with slums, with young people and children from those underserved communities to develop their human capital. That kind of story will fit in well with someone that is looking for a Commonwealth scholarship to go and study maybe African international development in the University of Edinburgh, or someone that is looking for a scholarship to study educational policy, education and global policy in University of Sussex. So if you bring that kind of big idea, you are marketing a big idea, an idea that is bigger than you, but that you feel that you constitute one of the major puzzles. You are doing your own bit in your own part of the world to contribute to solving that problem. The idea is bigger than you, but you are a crucial part to making that idea work. That idea is your reality. Some people have started NGOs, some people have worked with an NGO. There's a conviction that makes them to work for those type of NGOs. There's a conviction that makes someone to set up his NGO. It's because you believe that that thing you are doing actually makes a difference. So in marketing your big idea, every personal statement should be coming from a point of view of a conviction of the person. If you don't have a conviction, or you sound like you are not convinced and you don't have the right conviction, you are not convinced enough, how do you convince the selection team that your idea is life-changing or can make a difference? There's no, if you are not convinced, you can't convince me. If you don't sound like you are convinced yourself, you are just saying, okay, let me try this scholarship. Maybe if I say this thing, they will give me this thing. So someone like Dauda, again, I'm sorry, I keep using Dauda because I know him personally and I'm familiar with his work. Working with Ambu Vets, doing a lot of work on livestock livelihoods and food security in North Central Nigeria, working with women farmers, backyard poultry farmers, and sheep and goat owners. There are a lot of big ideas that can come out of that kind of story, because already by now you know that the backbone of livestock production in rural West Africa are the women. So there's a gender aspect to it. And now you are applying to Royal Veterinary College for a Commonwealth scholarship to study livestock and livestock health and production. You have to be coming with that big idea that for the last 1 to 2 years in your life, in your professional life, you have worked hand in hand. You have seen the smiles on the faces of livestock owners, most of them women. You have seen the hardship when they lose their poultry flock. So you need to paint that story in words. Your big idea is that animal health is crucial, and animal health to the last mile farmer. That means the last farmer in the most rural part of northern Nigeria must get access to vaccines, get access to the right veterinary drugs. It can improve his potential. So you are coming with the idea that that is the best thing that can happen to them. Forget education, forget food. Just believe that if animal health is solved, they will have higher livelihoods, higher livestock productivity, higher incomes. And if they have higher incomes, they can send their children to school, they can buy food, they can buy. So your own perspective or your big idea is that animal health is crucial to even every aspect of their life, more important than anything. So that's the big idea you are marketing. And it doesn't matter whether that thing is whether it's true or not, nobody is debating it. But is it credible? If your big idea is credible and the person reading it can nod his head, okay, you have finished your work. You have done a lot. So there's more going into a personal state, a winning personal statement than just, you writing it in one day and submitting. This reminds me about criticism. There's this lady that sent me an email 6 months after I PC'd her personal statement for her. Now she's in the Royal Veterinary College, and she sent me an email and stuff. It was one of those pro bono things I did. It was one of those pro bono people that I worked with. I didn't collect. She didn't take my course or anything. She just sent me a personal statement, and I sent her a number of suggestions and comments. It was like a tear down. And she even admitted in her email that when she saw my comments, the thing really as if, it's not as if I was positive in my comment, but she felt it was, by the time I finished with it was as if she didn't write anything. But she took the comments, fixed it, and did everything. 6 months later, I received an email that she got scholarship to Royal Veterinary College. She's currently completing a degree in Royal Veterinary College. What happened? These are the principles, these are the foundations of any winning personal statement. If anybody can take this thing, implement it, fine. You will not have any problem in your future scholarship application. If we are together, please let me know. So now we go into the, what I've been talking about is strategies. There's something called tactics and strategies. The strategy is the whole big picture. The tactics are the specific components of it, So things like the slippery slide, the psychological triggers, different types of psychological triggers that can move people to action. These are all ideas that are gotten from something called copywriting, how you influence people to buy products using words. When you read adverts in newspapers, adverts on internet, web pages, most of the people that write those adverts, they are called copywriters. And these copywriters, they spend their lifetime learning how to influence people using words. And so all those tactics that copywriters use can actually be borrowed. And in fact, I have borrowed them personally and used it in my own personal statement, and I have seen the results. That's why I'm sharing this with you. I hope it's actually making some sense to you. So there's something called the headline. The headline is that first thing you see that attracts you to read. It's like a topic sentence or a statement. Usually the headline should not be more than 16 words. The lesser, the better. But if you have a headline that is able to attract attention, and it's usually you see it in bold. So I see people write personal statement, they don't have any headline. They just expect you to just go into this and start writing. No, the headline is supposed to be that, and all-encompassing stuff that will just give you an idea of what you're about to read. And then, a sub-headline follows explaining a bit more about the headline. And then you move into the first statement. In fact, I don't call it a personal statement, I call it a copy. First statement of the copy, second statement of the copy, third sentence, fourth sentence, like that. You move into a slippery slide and it takes you deep, deep, deep before you know you have read everything. In between the body, you are weaving different type of psychological triggers. So what are psychological triggers? I've started talking about it. So, but before then, let's talk about the purpose. The purpose of the headline basically is to get you to read the next statement, the subheadline. The subheadline to read the first sentence, second statement, if to the fifth. You know, if the person doesn't read the first one, he probably will not read the second one. When people start jumping your personal statement, it's like, what is this one saying? Let me scan. If you scan the first one, he doesn't understand it. And you read this third paragraph, probably you have just 30 seconds. You just put it on the side, and that's all. You will not look at it again. I hope that will not be our portion. I've already talked about this. Never worry about the first draft. Just write. Write it in your own voice as much as possible. In fact, the best type of draft is the one that you write, you know, just write it. Don't look at other people's personal statement or something. Try to address the question as much as possible before you start looking at any other example. That's why I always don't like to share examples too much first, because the moment you start sharing different type of personal statement, you are giving that person, you are blocking the person's brain. The person believes that this is the model because this one won. Yes, I would rather tear down a personal statement and show you how you can make it better than to be sharing different type of personal statement, because I'm molding you towards my own this thing, and you might have better ideas. If you take these principles, you implement them, you will find out that you might even have better ideas of how to own these principles than what I have done. So the idea is, don't worry about first draft. So let's talk briefly about psychological triggers. I will just run them off quickly. As you can see, the trend is looking alike. A lot of things look alike. When you say honesty, I've already touched a bit about honesty. Try to, you know, rather than lie or cook something up, most of the time, if you cook something up and it's not consistent, it becomes clear. In fact, if you lie, most times they will know. And if they know, automatically you are out. So rather, there's a way you can make your reality by creating your future. I told you, if you have 3 months to apply for an opportunity, you have a lot of time to even do something. You can do something this week and write about it. In fact, you can do it that day and write about it that day. You don't necessarily need to tell them that it's now you just did it. But you did it. That's the good thing. You can show impact. You have evidence. So integrity. What is integrity? It's very closely related with honesty. But the point is, whatever you're writing should relate. It should be consistent. If you're writing, you know, some of those, and these people are very wise. What they do is they give you one, not more than 250 words, ask you one question. Then later down, they'll ask you not more than 150 words, ask you another question. All those things, you see, most people look at it as different part of the essay. It's the same essay, but they segmented it. So if your essay has integrity, it will show, because there will be a recurring theme. You don't have to be saying the same thing in each box, but there will be a recurring theme that shows that everything ties up nicely to each other and it is credible. If you wake up and tell us that you were able to raise 50 million naira and you sponsor some people to go and study abroad, first thing they will be thinking is, if you have 50 million, why didn't you sponsor yourself? So that is not credible. It is clear that this person is lying. There are some things you read that you know that this person is lying. If there's no credibility, forget it. So these are all psychological triggers. If you are able to get your reader or your audience to know, you don't have, it's not as if you are 100% honest, because it's only prophets that can be 100% honest, because sometimes you might not even remember. But the point is, to the best of your ability, you come across as being honest. You show that through your writing, you are showing that you are a person of integrity. What you are saying is credible, not incredulous. And then you are not depending on only that too, because the person cannot see your mind sometimes. So you are actually showing that you are a person of value and you are proving the value. Like now, if I tell somebody that one of my mentees in VLOT won 5,000 USD in 2018, you know, it's one of my VLOT. If you check online, there are even blogs that interviewed him. Or if you check on the website, you will see that somebody from University of Abuja won that year. So it's not a lie. So there's value and proof of value. So if I write it anywhere, it is something that can be confirmed. Because don't be surprised when it gets to one level, they check out all these things. Sometimes they even go to your LinkedIn page, your social media page, your Facebook. So if you are someone that is posting some kind of things, go back and clean up your Facebook page. Sometimes, sometimes you might be having some maybe you have some anti-gay sentiments on your lesbian, LGBT. If it's your personal belief, just keep it to yourself. Don't have all those anti-Semitic beliefs or all this. Don't post it on your social media. Make it your personal idea. Your religion, keep it to yourself. Things on social media, package yourself on social media. Be more professional or business-like, so that when they look at you, they will go back and check. And these are things that add up. What you wrote in your essay, is it adding up to what you are doing? If you say you are an advocate for One Health and they're checking your Facebook, they're not seeing anything, bear in mind that for them to even get to a stage of checking your Facebook, they have started considering you. They have started considering you. They have your essay has resonated with them. But something that can backfire is if it turns out that it was proven that you are not honest, you don't have integrity, you are not credible, or you don't have anything to show. Those are not even part of your essay. So these are part of the objections that can come up. But before those objections come up, it's better you address them in your essay by showing proof of, showing things they cannot dispute. They have already seen the proof. So that one, they will not even check. Or if they check, they will find out that what you are saying is true. Another way is demonstrating authority. You need to establish authority. That's not to say that you should call yourself a professor when you are not a professor, but in your own respective field, in your sphere of influence, your area of the world, you need to show that you have owned up to issues. Like I said, if you are a vet or a vet student, you need to start owning up to issues in the profession that are in your area of interest. There are a lot of issues, global buzzwords that are going on. You need to own up to it. Own up to One Health if you are interested in own up to livestock health and production, infectious diseases, zoonosis, rabies. If you are interested in small animal, an issue that you can take up and claim ownership of it by your activities is rabies. I remember, let me give you a story. When I was in 500 level in Zaria, we started talking about animal welfare. We set up one organization. One of our colleagues set up one organization called Society for Animal Welfare, and we were collaborating with him. We went to meet one of our late professors. Now she became a professor posthumous, one of our teachers then, and she was telling us that, what do we know about animal welfare? That we are talking about animal welfare. And in my head, I was just thinking that this is such a retrogressive approach. This is such a backward thinking, because in reality, nobody has any ownership of any issue. Nobody has exclusive rights to issue of One Health or animal health. Somebody was saying, and I think the person in question said that they were the ones that brought animal welfare to Nigeria. And I was wondering that, how can you make such a claim? Animal welfare is an issue that even if you are not a vet, you can be interested in it and claim ownership and become an authority in that through your activities, through your advocacies, through how you are solving problems in that area and how you write about it. It shows in your essay that this person is a person of authority or is just a spectator or a bystander. Let me give you an example of somebody that has taken ownership of an area. Someone like Bill Gates. Bill Gates is not a vet, he's not a medical doctor, but today he's known as one of the global health champions. He has taken over issues of, in fact, he predicted COVID more than 5 years ago. And his views are respected when it comes to public health and global health issues. And again, he has put his money where his mouth is. So he has become an authority in that area. If you like, be a professor of infectious disease. When Bill Gates talk, the newspapers will take it more. So never look down on yourself wherever you think you are. claim ownership and become a person of authority by establishing authority. In your writing, speak with authority. Learn, not arrogance, but authority. Go and learn, go and study how to represent yourself authoritatively when you are writing. It helps you when you're writing a personal statement. Speak with authority. Don't be speaking like someone that is not just a student. So yeah, satisfaction, conviction. What does it mean? When you are buying a good, or maybe you are buying an item on eBay, on Amazon, or through an Instagram vendor, what do you want? You want to be sure that that thing you are purchasing will do what it says it will, or there will be a guarantee on it, or you are sure that you are making the right buying decision. So if a scholarship body is about to invest in you, they also want to be sure that this investment they are making is not a waste. So through how you can demonstrate satisfaction, conviction, but you don't need to tell them that, yes, that you are sure that you are going to make the best use of it. Like we said, show but don't tell. If you tell, your voice doesn't carry any weight. But if you show, maybe by your previous activities of how much impact you have made, you are subtly telling them that they will not be making a mistake by investing in you, or maybe you are a previous scholarship, like me now, I can talk about the previous scholarships I have gotten. So those people will know that, yes, it's not a mistake that I'm a 2-time Commonwealth scholar. It's not a mistake that I'm a Gap Summit scholar. Or it's not a mistake that I'm a Netherlands Fellowship scholar, Netherlands Fellowship fellow, rather, Orange Knowledge Program fellow, or also Yali alumnus, Young African Leaders Initiative. So all those things will give them impetus to know that, yes, this guy has a pedigree. There's a satisfaction, conviction that comes with it, that, yes, investing in this guy will not be a mistake. So even if you don't have previous awards, even if it was a secondary school or a university award, there's a way you package it. It comes across as something that is large. Another way of showing authority is getting into the conversation that is going on in the heads of your sponsors. They have areas of interest, global areas of interest, or specific professional areas. They have buzzwords that they use. So if you are talking about, if it's something about environment and climate change, or sustainable aquaculture, sustainable livestock, you have to use those terminologies that they are also using. You cannot be talking something different or that doesn't apply. That's another way of showing authority. That you are also part. One thing about being a professional body. A professional body, there's nothing about it. It's just a group of people that came together and that decided to be using a specific lingo to themselves. So if you are a vet or a medical doctor, if I say linear alba, we understand ourselves. If I talk about the aponeurosis, tendon of the aponeurosis, I talk about latissimus dorsi or serratus ventralis dorsalis or something, you know what I'm talking about. But it's not some people that just gathered together and started forming all those words, and making it look complex. Engineers have their language, cantilever, everything. Pharmacists have their language. So it's all about showing that you belong to an exclusive group of people. If it's about change making, young leadership, talk about it. If it's about global education policy, show that you belong. Because if you don't use the lingo that they use, that is not to say you should be using big English or using professional, what do they call it? I'm trying to remember the word now. You are just throwing up words anyhow, No, that's not the point. You don't have to use just these words. Climate change is not a big word. Sustainable development, sustainable aquaculture is not a big word. That kind of thing. Maternal mortality is not a big word. That kind of thing. But when you start using big lingo just to show that, you have read about it, or sometimes it's not even applying to what you are talking about, then you are shooting yourself in the foot. So I said, take advantage of any publicity you currently enjoy. Like, have you won previous awards? Have you won previous scholarships? Was your activities, was it shown in the papers? Were you interviewed in the newspaper, or did you write an article? Those kind of things. These are some of the areas that we underrate. You can write an article and you refer to that article. If you have written a scientific paper, you can talk about it, about your findings, and so those things are things they can check. If you have written, even if it's a Daily Trust article, even if it's a letter to editor, you can talk about it. You link it into what you are saying, and everything looks good. You are increasing your authority. Everything in just 250 words. But it looks a bit big or something. But the reality is, it starts with the first draft. You have to simplify. A first draft is just paper and biro. Me, I prefer paper and biro. Some people prefer Microsoft Word. Just write first before you get to all these things are things you start putting. It's like a checklist, because you have access to all these things. So you now begin to look, how can I include this? What do I have that I can include this? It's not immediately the first time you're writing it that all these things will come. And then when you finish, now you tie everything up and make it consistent with each other. That's how we know. You harmonize it, show that you belong is related to what we have discussed. Sowing seeds of curiosity. Sometimes you make a bold claim or a bold statement that will make them want to read further, showing impact by showing that you have a desire to give back, showing uniqueness, what makes you different. Everything sits well with the storytelling framework. So lastly, we have discussed this in last class, so I'm just going to repeat the statement by saying the kind of story you need to tell is dependent on the essay question and the scholarship in question. So it's left to you to figure out exactly what they want you to talk about. We've talked about the different type of stories in the last class, so I won't bore you with all these details. So on that note, we have come to the end of the class for today.